So that's the question. How do we flip the script to labels being empowering? How do we flip the script to liberation and freedom and peace with labeling? How do we create community from it? How do we lean into the age of Aquarius and break through all these past institutions and dismantle these systems that are not allowing people to live their truth?
I think we have to get comfortable with the gray area. Getting more labels for race, gender, social class, whatever it is, felt really empowering. And now I feel like it's getting to a point where it's really isolating.
For those who are deep enough to get it,
But profound enough to not care.
you're listening to Consciously Unconscious.
Speaking of lips, guess what I'm doing on Saturday?
Are you getting your lippies done?
Yes.
Finally, they got back to you?
Yeah.
Because I told you that you needed to send a follow-up email?
Yeah.
Always send a follow-up email.
Well, I think I sent like 3 follow-up emails and they didn't get back to me for a really long time. Is my mic moving?
Right when we start recording is when I have to adjust
Fart?
adjust my seat.
Guys, I'm getting lip filler and I'm really excited. I haven't had it since April of 2022. No, I lied. April of 2023.
So comfy.
So almost 2 years ago.
2 años.
I really did not have any lips before I got filler.
Oh, you do not want to see pictures of me before filler.
I've seen them.
Yeah. The world won't be seeing those. Just kidding. You can see them. It's pretty funny. I definitely had worms for lips.
I thought you were going to say I definitely had work done.
Dry. Small dried up worms. But no, but on the topic of being transparent, what have you had any other work done?
No.
Just
Only
lippies?
my lips.
No Botox?
No. I'm getting to the point where it's almost
You
time.
have great skin. You don't need Botox at
Well,
all.
the only thing that I find is I do have some fine lines over here that are starting to bother me when I look in really fluorescent light.
Resting fine lines?
I don't know. I can't tell. When
not from
I'm
here.
looking at my mirror in my bathroom with like the really harsh, terrible lighting, I can see them when I'm resting.
Oh, yeah. A TJ Maxx dressing room?
Will never catch me there.
Holy shit.
I told you, I've never been a TJ Maxx.
What?
No, I've never been a Maxxinista.
I need to look up what time they close. I grew up on TJ Maxx.
No.
Oh, they close
never.
at 9:30.
Let's go.
Where I grew up in upstate New York, there was like no shopping unless you drove 45 minutes to go to the mall.
What about a Target?
No Target unless you drove 45 minutes. I mean, like TJ Maxx was the moment.
Did you have Wegmans?
Did I have a Wegmans?
Okay,
My wedding reception will be in Wegmans.
I need all the Wegmans lore because I went to college in Savannah, Georgia for my freshman year of college, and literally all of my roommates were from like Jersey or New York, and they raved about Wegmans.
Yeah, it's absolutely the best place in the world. It's like you enter into a new universe. My mom has been to Danny Wegman's house. Danny Wegman, the Danny Wegman, who created Wegmans, Danny Wegman. He lives on the street from me, like literally right down the street. I could walk to his house, right on Canandaigua Lake. A massive, massive like log cabin. And across from his house is like this big organic farm.
Oh,
But yeah, you basically walk in there and you're in this, I don't know, you're somewhere between earth and heaven.
give me a comparison. Is it like an Erewhon? Is it like a
No,
Whole
I can't give you a
Foods?
comparison. It
No?
exists. It exists on its own plane.
What was like the
The prepared food section or the hot bar, but also just the ambiance. You walk in there and your parasympathetic nervous system is calm.
I love when that
Probably
happens.
not actually though, because then you see every single one of your like 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade high school teachers. You see everyone you know when you go to Wegmans. You see that one person who you really don't want to talk to, and they're there.
You got to go in with like a baseball cap and a hoodie.
They have a pharmacy. They have a prepared food section. They have like a whole like gift section in the middle that has like glassware and cards and dishes and just like eclectic items.
What is
Frozen foods?
Ooh, what are the hours?
A long periodically time. They're open. They must be open like a lot of hours.
Yeah,
7 a.m. to 9 p.m., 10 p.m., 11
that's
p.m.
a good store.
11 p.m. Definitely late.
So you could go for like your
Because I'm
late
thinking
night.
of like late night Wegmans trips.
Yeah.
Wegmans got me into sushi actually.
Where is Wegmans? Is it only in New York?
I mean, it started in upstate New York. It started in like the Rochester Finger Lakes region. And now I think it's since moved into Connecticut, New England area, maybe a little bit further south.
What is Danny Wegman's story?
That's a great question. I don't know if he's a nepotism baby, or I don't know
It's
where.
giving nepo.
It's giving nepo. I don't know where that came from, but he really wanted to start a grocery store, and he did.
Is it all organic stuff or no, but just really good quality?
It's all asinine pricing. It's ridiculous. I mean, it's ridiculous. Like, you have to prepare worse than Whole Foods.
Why?
I don't know. Danny got carried away.
Danny. Come on, Danny.
I don't know what Danny's story is, though. My mom would totally know. But he had a wife named Stency, and they broke up, and she took his Lamborghini or something.
Love.
I could just be totally making this up.
That's an icon.
But she's an icon and a legend. Stens. But she lives down the street from him in another massive house.
And she just like drives past with the Lamborghini.
Yeah, she's like,
ha!
Wee woo.
That's a dream of mine to go to Wegmans. Maybe one day I'll get the
I'll
chance.
take you when you come do an East Coast tour.
Would love.
Back in my hometown.
Would love.
How's your week been?
It's been good. It's been a little chaotic, but I wanted to ask how the sauna session you did was.
At CYC or whatever?
CYL?
CYL.
I don't know what it stands for, but it stands for something.
Yeah, I did a 30-minute infrared sauna session. Obviously, I walk in, I go level 9. The woman's like, okay, have you been in before? I'm like, no, but I've like done this before, just not here.
Don't worry about it.
She's like, okay, level
I've
9.
actually been to Bali.
I've actually been in level 9 climates. So, no, it was extremely difficult to sit there for 30 minutes. And you go in this pod, and she asks you what light you want, and obviously I chose red.
They ask you what light you want now?
Yeah.
Like in the actual pod, they can change it?
Mm-hmm.
Whoa.
My AirPods were fully not charged, so I laid there in silence.
Honestly,
which was great practice, but I felt like a little kid. I was
yeah. You get antsy.
I was so antsy.
Yeah.
And it was, I should have started at a level 7 maybe.
Yeah. Did you tell her that it was a little too high for you, or?
No, obviously. I swallowed my pride and I walked out and was like, that was great. Thank you.
I'll definitely be back.
Meanwhile, I'm like foaming from the mouth. My eyes are crossed.
Dude, that's where I used to go when I was in college because I went to school in Boulder.
Oh, so it's like a franchise.
So it was oh wait, were you at the one in Denver?
In Cherry Creek.
See, I used to go to Orange Theory and then I would go to the sauna.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Talk about Nepo, baby.
The reason I said that I had PTSD about the sauna is not because I would do a level 9, was because
Takes a gulp, takes a big swallow.
the day that I found out that I was pregnant with Lennox,
You went in?
I had just been to the sauna pod. Literally, I went to the sauna. 2 hours
Do you
later.
think that did anything to the
2 hours
fetus?
later. Well, you tell me.
Yeah, it definitely did.
2 hours later, I find out I'm pregnant. I'm like, I just cooked that fucking baby.
Yeah.
Scrambled eggs.
Baby in the oven for real.
In the fucking oven.
Did you level 9 that bitch?
Probably. I was in the thick of my eating disorder.
I went
not
straight-
actually, but like I was still coming out of like my relationship to over-exercising, and
I went straight for level 9 because I was like, I'm going to get my money's worth.
yeah, for sure.
I'm going to get my...
No, but those things work.
Oh.
They work.
Someone could die in there easily.
I think you could ask for a cold rag on your head.
They do give you one, but turns
Yeah.
hot in about 15 seconds.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. But if you haven't tried one, definitely try one. It's a very meditative experience.
Yeah.
Do you know what today is?
Is today a special something?
It's a special something. Do you know? Astrologically.
Oh.
Like a big something, like a really big something.
Is something retrograding?
No, we're past the retrograding. Pluto has moved into Aquarius.
What does that mean?
Which is like massive. Like we are in this new age of Aquarius, and Pluto will stay in Aquarius until 2043. It
happened today?
Yes, hours ago. It was in Capricorn for like 19 years. Somewhere 12 to 14 years, somewhere in that range, something like that. 12,
So does
14,
this mean
19.
that we're about to get innovative as fuck and creative as hell?
That's exactly what it means. Pluto is really a planet of like
I thought we forgot about Pluto.
We did, like, we disregarded them in like
said bye,
NASA
Felicia.
terms. We said the fuck. Bye,
You're
leash.
too small to fuck.
Dude, she's small but mighty.
Yeah.
But
you think she's a she?
I don't know. I just called her a she, but
Labels are limiting.
Labels are limiting. Pluto is a planet of destruction, rebirth, transformation, like really powerful energy, but it's not one of the luminary planets. So it's further out, which means that it acts on more of like a macro perspective. So it acts on like world order. It acts on mass consciousness versus like closer planets like the sun, the moon. Those are all very personal, character, introspective. This is one of the further ones. I think Uranus and Neptune maybe are also further.
Pluto was like the furthest, no?
It is, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about. But that is why it acts on mass populations of people. So Pluto moving into Aquarius, this is like this massive rebirth essentially into New Earth. Like this humanitarian revolution, technological revolution. I mean, it's going to be intense. Well, why does it give you anxiety?
Because are we going to make it through?
Of course we're going to make it through.
I don't know. I do feel like there's light at the end of the tunnel. Like, I do feel like it's the energy of like shit that's not working is going to be shaken the fuck up and
that's
kicked
exactly
out.
It. We are dismantling hierarchies and institutions that have not been working. Like, we have to burn it all down to build it back up again.
See, and that the burning down freaks me out.
Well,
because like, what the fuck is going to happen?
Yeah, but how else do you act on a revolution? Like, astrologically, yes, but also how fitting is it that
what's really funny?
Climate is quite aligned. Oh God.
So I went to the CU, this relates. I went to the CU football game on Saturday, and they were like initiating people into the military. And I was like tearing up because they were
initiating people into the military.
Yeah, so the people who are in ROTC and like about to graduate, they're initiating them into the military. They're like they're swearing their oath on the football field. And I'm like tearing up because like that shit just really hits me. Like,
did you know I dated a military man? For lots of years.
I forgot
I was in the thick of the military.
Did you go to any of the military balls?
Of course I did.
You did?
Keep going.
Okay, we need to circle back on this. I just get really teary-eyed because it's one of those things where I'm like, these people are about to change their lives. Like, they are going to fight for us. Like, they're going to protect us. They're swearing an oath. Like, it's just big deal. It's a big deal.
It's big deal.
It's big deal. It's very
big deal. I like.
Very meaningful. Hits me at the heart.
Deal big.
And I was just tearing up. And then I think I saw something else, maybe like a police officer or something. And I just turned to Lucas and I'm like, damn, there is something about a man in a uniform. I'm just like, I love a man in a uniform. And then like they're swearing them to oath. And Lucas is like, man, I'm fucked if we ever get drafted for war, huh? Like, you're not going to hide me. You're going to tell me it's my fucking manly duty.
Amanda loves talking about men getting drafted for war. She brought this up on like episode 1, dude. She is like all in the shits about men being drafted for war in this new age of Aquarius.
No, I'm just scared we're going to go to war. And Lucas is like, bitch, you are not going to hide me. Like, yes, I will. I'm just going to be like,
Lucas is the only one that doesn't get invited into the underground railroad. Sorry, Lucas. Good luck up there. He's gonna be like cooking for everyone at war, though.
Yeah, no, like he's gonna be fine.
He'll be fine.
He'll be fine.
He lifts things up and puts them down in the gym. He's fine.
Maybe he'll find his purpose. But tell me about your military boy.
Well, it was interesting because I had never been exposed to anything military oriented before. Like, it was never in my family. None of my friends ever had any exposure to it. I never lived near a base. Like, I just didn't understand anything about it. I was very naive to what military culture looked like. And it definitely is, it's interesting, and it really affects who a person is and how they present to the world in terms of structure, logic, thought patterns, like orientation of how they keep a home, how they, I mean, it's very,
it almost gives like, I'm thinking about it for you as the partner, like military wife, it almost gives like pastor's wife. Do you know what I mean? Like, you have to also uphold like an image.
It's funny because, so I lived with this person. He was my college boyfriend. And when we met, he was in ROTC, but like very accomplished, very like scholarly, but also just like the life of the party, which is what we really bonded over.
Yeah.
Is that we were both very charming, could walk into a room and light the place up. He just got married, actually. congrats. If you're listening.
Mazel tov.
No, seriously, all love for him. Like that was a great relationship, but
Call me. No, we're happy for you.
Bad, Amanda. Bad. Okay. Anyways, the main point of all this that I want to make is that you're right. It gives pastor's wife. Like I was definitely like being brought along to these events. Like I had this like pass to scan to get onto base. He was also in the National Guard. So he was like going to do funerals, and I would like show up at these random people's funerals and like have to hold space. I can't even, I feel like I dissociate from that period of time in my life. I also lived with him during COVID, and he was in the National Guard. So he was like being deployed to monitor the streets during COVID when there was a curfew. And so
How
I
many
would
lives
sit at
have you
home and make,
lived?
dude, like, I would sit at home and make vlogs all day
You would?
when I was an aspiring YouTuber, and he was out like with a big gun, like doing his
Wait,
duties.
that's so American.
But now you see why exactly it didn't work out. Why
Yeah.
exactly I had to leave it, because that could not be me.
Yeah. I didn't know you were an aspiring YouTuber.
Oh yeah. If you can find my channel, I'll send you a free hat.
Is it still out there?
I hope not.
I'm going to look it up.
I wish I didn't out myself like that. You could see me before lip filler. I'm like, what's in my bag?
No, that's so interesting though. The whole like military. My best friend, who I actually mentioned in the last episode, Abby, her husband's in the military. He's been deployed for like the last 10 months, and she's like,
Yeah.
still waiting on him to get back. He's been like pushed back.
He was in Afghanistan half the time we were dating. Dude.
How did you do that? Were you fully bought in?
Yeah.
You think you were gonna like be like his wife?
He led me to believe.
Did you think you were gonna have like his babies and literally be like pregnant while he's deployed?
He led me to believe. But, you know, there was always an inkling in me that I was like,
Don't know if this life's for me.
Couldn't be me.
Yeah. Was there ever like a moment at one of those random funerals that was like really meaningful to you, or like that stood out?
I mean, those were some of the first funerals I ever went to. I really haven't had anyone pass away besides my 2 grandmas, which happened far after that.
Wow.
I had been to a couple funerals beforehand.
Yeah.
When I was younger, but like as an adult, in cemeteries and stuff, I don't totally remember a specific moment of feeling really connected to any of them. There were definitely moments of, I have no relation to this person, and I could totally feel the grief and loss.
Were you still crying?
No.
Because I totally would. I'm so that bitch. Like if somebody cries, I have to cry.
I do be crying at a lot of things though.
Yeah.
Right before we recorded this episode, I cried.
Yeah.
I bawled my eyes out, actually.
A moment. We did have a moment.
Yeah. Just a lot on the chest. So yeah, I've lived a couple lives.
Yeah.
But I would not allow one of my labels. You know what's interesting? This is a great segue, actually. One of the things that really led that relationship to its demise was the labels of, one of the only things that I identified with was I was this person's girlfriend.
That's so real.
I lost myself a lot in that relationship, and my identity was labeled as like how people perceived me as this person's girlfriend. And that's how I behaved.
And that felt limiting?
Extremely limiting.
Did you realize that it was limiting while you were in it, or not until after?
I think a lot of times it takes retrospective,
Yeah.
examination to really understand what is limiting and what is expansive. And especially with relationships, when you kind of step away and you get a second to breathe and look at the situation holistically or from like a macro lens. Basically what we're talking about today is, are labels limiting or expanding? And I think that they can be both. But in this case, I think that identifying solely as someone's partner was extremely limiting to me. Extremely limiting. And at the time, it felt like an honor. It felt like a privilege and an honor. And after it ended, it felt like, wow, I have so much reinvention to do, and I have so much recollection to do of like, where did all these pieces of myself dissipate to? Where did they go?
Well, and that's the problem with labels, is you attach to the label rather than being so attached to just like who you are and the ever-changing nature of your soul and you in every single chapter of life.
Buddhists say that the second that you label something, you obscure its true essence.
Facts. Period, Buddhists.
Period, Buddhists.
Period, queen.
Life is suffering, bitch. No, but what that means is exactly what you just said about the ever-changing interconnectedness beyond language existence of things, whether it's you, whether it's a flower. Oh, I forgot about our beverages of the week.
We're going to get there.
Okay, I just looked and I was like, whether it's those. Yes, like to obscure something's essence is to limit it by labeling it, because you are then describing it in only what we can describe in language. Mm-hmm. So you're obscuring its full potential. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And you're also creating a cage for it. Like we're not meant to stay the same. We're just not. And I think when you label something, it's really hard for people to then unidentify as that thing, because they've formed their entire relationship, friendships, career, location off of this label.
Yeah.
And then the second they don't identify with that anymore, they look around and it's like their entire life has been created around this label, when like maybe that shouldn't have been the thing that we led with, you know?
You're also providing, when you label things, ways for other people to interpret it.
Yes.
Which is simultaneously limiting and connected. But if we're talking about it in a limiting sense, you are already giving people a preconceived notion, a bias of what something is by labeling it as good, bad, beautiful, ugly. And so when someone else approaches this thing that you have pre-labeled or pre-identified for them, they're already going to have that subliminal messaging of what that is. Mm-hmm. And so then they have less autonomy to think for themselves about what that is, mm-hmm. or who that is, or what that looks like, or what that feels like to them.
Mm-hmm. Well, I wonder what Pluto and Aquarius is going to bring us in terms of labels.
Great question. Only time will tell.
Let's do our beverage of the week before we really dive in.
Yeah, sing it. Okay, well, actually, I have to introduce it because there's a little... Is it a challenge? Surprise!
I've been in my challenge bag lately.
Okay, so for bevies of the week, I have an S on bevies.
An S
on bevies, because there's multiple. And I thought what would be really fun is to have multiple beverages of the week and have Amanda try to label them and see if that is limiting or expansive, or just see kind of what comes out of it. So I have 4 glasses on the table, each filled with a different beverage, and I'm going to have Amanda taste them and try them, and she's going to describe them to me. I'm also going to do it too, even though I kind of know what they are, but I also kind of forget. But in terms of descriptors of what they taste like, what they feel like, what the energy of them are.
Okay, am I guessing what they are too?
However you want to go about it.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you should guess what they are.
Okay, I think you should sing first.
I sing every week.
I sang last week.
No, I said beverage of the week.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. I have an idea.
Okay, go. What are you trying to pull up?
Just a second.
Okay. Amanda's in the kitchen.
Here we go.
What is this called? It's Billionaire Bounce.
Go, Jessa.
A beverage of the week. Yeah. You guys. A beverage of the week.
Oh, yeah.
I wanted that to be our intro song so badly. I sent that to Amanda. The song is called Billionaire Bounce. We were sending music back and forth for like 3 weeks.
And she would
back
just,
and forth.
she would just literally be like,
"You this, no, you this."
She'd literally just be like, it's Billionaire Bounce.
And I said this to her, and I was like, "This is it. No questions asked. It's a Billionaire Bounce. Don't even try to come back with anything else. It's Billionaire Bounce." She responds. She's like, No. I listened to that probably like 6 times a day. Like, so I'm so happy that it made it to the pod. Okay.
Okay, so
Should I try?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay.
So I'm
Wait,
going
I
to
have
try
pictures of what they are on my phone.
this first one.
Okay.
It's like, it looks kind of sparkling and it's a little pink.
Okay. I haven't tried it yet.
Is that alcohol?
None of these are alcohol.
Is that Olipop? Or pop? It's like that's a poppy. It's a strawberry lemon poppy. No?
Give it a smell.
It smells like a perfume.
Yeah.
It's not a perfume.
I'm like Amanda drinking toxins. Go, fire it off.
A little carbonated, but not really sweet, but a little tart at the same time. It's giving strawberry.
It's giving rose lemonade.
I said strawberry lemonade. Strawberry lemon.
You didn't say the word lemonade and you didn't say the word rose. You were
I said fragrant.
I said it tasted like something.
Next one. Still giving that sparkling vibe.
I haven't tried this one yet either.
It smells like coconut water.
Oh wait, I've tried this one.
This is coconut water. This is Harmless Harvest. Harmless Harvest.
Yes, it's Harmless Harvest.
I got really excited.
I got really excited about Harmless Harvest. If they don't sponsor us, I'm gonna be pissed.
Have we reached out?
No, but we should.
The smell is a little lemony.
Okay. Let me try.
You know, it's a real experience when you go into something not thinking it's
Hey,
carbonated.
can we do this
and
next week for me?
Yeah, and then it
I
being
want-
carbonated.
The art of not knowing. Oh, that's terrible.
It's not very good.
Oh, this is not good.
Like it's stale or it's not.
That's not what it should be. You're never going to be able to guess that.
Let me try.
I found it laying around here, so could have been open for weeks. Could be roofied. Lime, mint, elderflower, mineral water. Sparkling. Whole Foods.
Yeah. Now that you say it, I perceive it that way.
Now that you've labeled it as such, I understand. Okay, this is such a fun one. Give it a little like swirl.
It smells like guava or something like
it's kind
that.
of separating.
Oh my! This is definitely lemonade in here. It's like a guava lemonade or like a kiwi lemonade. It's delightful.
There are so many fruits you could pick from, and you're like not hitting any of them.
No?
I mean, you got
Grapefruit.
lemon. You got lemon. 100% cold pressed juice. What's in there?
Strawberry.
Yes.
Banana.
The fuck?
Oh, that's so good. What is it?
Pineapple, red apple, pear, strawberry, orange, and lemon. But all that separation at the bottom, really, we need to get.
Yeah, we need a
Can I
stirring
use your lip
stick.
gloss?
Absolutely.
I'd like to raise a glass of toast.
To consciously unconscious. Okay, great. We have 4 bevies to sip on.
For beveraginos.
And really, the whole point of that was on this topic of labels. I feel like we've been hinting at this one for a while.
We've been hinting at this for a while, but the concept of labels, labeling things as a limitation or as an expander. And so when you label things, you must use language to label things. So ultimately, I think the question really is like, is language limiting? Both, I guess.
Yeah.
Both. It leads into is language
Well,
limiting.
I think it's also very limiting because I think we tend to put a lot of value on language versus also like body language and
symbols.
Yeah.
And, yeah. Other ways to connect.
yeah, we put a lot of weight in language. And I mean, rightfully so. I was an English major and poetry was my favorite way to create in terms of writing and English. And like, I love words. Words hold so much meaning.
Yeah.
But I think the reason why I also don't love labels is because when I was in college and I was learning to write poetry, I loved taking a word and flipping it on its head. Like I loved taking something that traditionally people think is X and making it look like Y or making it sound like Y. Like
Give an example.
Oh God, don't put me on the spot. I don't know how to do that.
Let's see how well you actually know your studies.
I can't. I actually should whip out one of my poems
Okay.
and read it at some point. I just love
We could do some slam poetry on the pod. I've got some stuff I could read.
You know, it's been one of my dreams to do slam poetry, and I've always been too novice.
Too noisy? We could do slam poetry on the pod.
There was an open mic night at Blind Tiger on Friday,
You would crush it.
and I
slam
should have done it, but I
poetry.
didn't prepare.
You don't need to prepare.
Oh, fuck. Okay, next time I'll do it.
Okay, next time. But anyways,
Next Just like using a descriptive word in a place where it shouldn't be. Do you know what I mean?
I think I know what you mean, but I'm
Like,
challenging you.
Using the word messy to describe a clean situation. Something like that.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? Like using a word that should not be there.
Paradoxical,
but also in a way to make you think differently and make you understand that.
Yeah, changing the connotation of a word.
To make you understand that everything is malleable, that like life is malleable, situations malleable, an experience from your perspective versus somebody else's perspective.
Sure, and interpretation is malleable.
Yes. Everything in terms of language and words and the way that we use it is so much more than the word. It's about the context. It's about the way that it's said. It's about and I think that's why I was so drawn to writing in English, was because I loved getting people to think about things differently, who traditionally thought about one thing, think about messy in the situation of like, oh, someone's messy, or like thinking about messy hair. Like if you think about like a messy house, it's very different than thinking about like messy hair, where it's like maybe a little bit more sensual, or maybe a little bit romantic, or maybe a little bit more raw. Like,
well, you make a good point. Like contextually,
Yeah.
we use labels and words and language to understand scenarios. And like we've been saying this whole time, they can be very limiting or they can be very expanding, because they are a way that we can connect and form community and form common understanding and form common ground of something being messy. Having like messy is a negative connotation, right? When you hear the word messy, you're like, oop, negative. We don't want it to be messy. We want it to be clean. But I love what you're saying about the art of expanding these definitions and changing these interpretations and expanding the spectrum of what that label means, and just using it in different contexts where you don't have to interpret it as negative. And I think a lot of times people really identify, if we're moving beyond the label of like messy and clean, just in terms of labels in general, people really start to identify with the labels that they give themselves and or are given to them. And then they end up playing their life in these boxes, in these checklists of roles, in these checklists of responsibilities and actions that they must take to fill these labels and fill these roles. And so while those labels and while those roles are really connective, oh, I'm a yoga teacher, you're a yoga teacher, we can connect here. Oh, I'm a coach, you're a coach, we can connect here. I'm a podcaster, you're a podcaster, right? Like labels, we now have common ground to stand on. Also, I'm completely disregarding that essence, that complete infinite nature that is beyond, outside of my labels and roles, or what I could be or what I am beyond yoga teacher, podcaster, coach.
have you ever had an experience with somebody where on paper all of your labels match up, but then you guys do not fucking vibe?
Totally.
Yeah.
Just like friends and relationships. I think that's a big thing in the dating world for people, especially with these like dating profiles where you think that even like Bumble BFF, not that I've experienced that, but I'm just kind of taking this to a situation that could be applicable, is that on paper, yeah, you seem like you would align in terms of interests, in terms of how you identify, how you post yourself, how you share yourself, how you present. And then in practice, in the real world, it just doesn't fit.
Well, I think it's because life is just so not black and white, and us as humans are so not black and white. We live in this gray area, but the gray area is so uncomfortable for all of us. And I'm very curious about why. Like, why do we feel the need to label things? Why? Is it our biology? Is it our neuroscience? Like, what is it that makes us need to walk around in our day-to-days and label things? This is good. This is bad. That person is not my friend. That person's my friend. That's a stranger. That's like,
I think it creates social order. It creates order. It creates hierarchy. It creates rules, common ground rules, and common ground understanding. And this concept of this grayness that you're talking about is really interesting, because that grayness can feel really uncomfortable and really scary, but that grayness is actually, like, again, gray has this negative connotation of like, ooh, gray, like that's not a fun color. It's murky, it's sticky, it's boring, it's like lifeless. But gray, what you're talking about reminds me of this gray area being the concept of non-duality. And so non-duality equals duality in essence. Duality is labeling something good, bad, high, low, self, other. right? You have all these things that exist on two opposite ends of two poles. But what you realize is that that gray area is actually that those two things cannot exist without each other, and therefore they are the same thing.
Conscious, unconscious.
Seriously, like you can't have a high if you don't have a low. There's no way that you can label anything as high if you don't have anything comparatively to label it to. Just like I can't label myself self if I don't have anything to label other. Just like I have to have bad to be able to understand what good is. And so duality then turns into the concept of non-duality, that everything is actually one. Everything is everything, which is kind of like bringing me to that gray area that you're talking about of just like acceptance beyond the labels, acceptance of full essence.
Yeah. And I think we live in a world that is obsessed with labels.
Well, what do you think would happen if we didn't have labels? Do you think that things would just crumble? Hierarchy, chaos would ensue, or chaos would ensue without hierarchy or order, or would it be free and liberating?
I would have a lot. I think it has to be so subjective and personal for everyone. Like I think that for so many people, labels are very limiting and labels can be very free. Take somebody who grew up thinking they were straight. That was a very limiting label to them. But then realizing, oh, I'm not straight and I can actually express who I actually am and I'm going to identify as gay or bisexual or whatever, that label is very freeing. And so it's interesting how these labels can shift depending on where we're at in life. The idea of getting rid of labels would actually be very freeing for me because I think I tend to attach to these labels and have to make it my entire personality, entire identity. And then when I'm not showing up as that thing, I'm feeling bad about myself.
How much of your life, how many of your labels do you think have been given to you versus have been chosen by you?
Ooh, that's a really good question. I think I've chose most of them.
Okay.
I think
go off. Because I think a lot of people do not get autonomy in that. They do not get.
I think that I was always labeled as like the outgoing kid, the dramatic kid, I was definitely labeled all of these things as a kid, but I also feel like I was really driven in, I am also creative. I am also a cheerleader. I am also a volleyball player. I am also a blogger. I'm also a these things. Like I don't know. I think I just like created a lot as a kid and then like took that label and took that label and took that label and like tried on all of these different hats. And I think I became comfortable with creating my own. And even when I think about like the one thing that comes to mind when I think about more recently is like, was mom something I chose or was it given to me? And I think it was something that I chose at the end of the day. Because I necessarily wasn't trying to get pregnant.
Just because you have kids also doesn't mean that you fulfill the roles of a mom.
True.
All the time.
True.
So you do really play the role of a mom because it's by choice. It's because you want to. Some days, yeah, maybe you're just like, fuck, I wish I didn't have to be a fucking mom today. I just want to chill. Like it's not 100% all the time that you want to be fulfilling that role and playing that role and living out that label. But ultimately, like that is a choice that whether or not you made the choice to get pregnant or not, you are making the choice consciously every day to be a mom.
Yeah.
And that brings you joy and that brings you peace. And I think that's the bottom line of like what we should be asking ourselves is what places in our life, whether they were given to us or we chose them in terms of these labels, what labels are giving us joy and peace? What labels are freeing and expansive? What labels are really connecting me with my true aligned authenticity, with this radical honesty of like, I want to be doing this. I feel empowered doing this. Like for me, yoga teacher is on that list. I love when I'm in front of a classroom because this is the beyond words part of it. When you're playing these roles or when you're living out these labels, the feeling that you get of alignment, you don't have to have explanation for. You don't have to say, oh, I feel really good when I'm leading a yoga room because I feel so empowered and I feel like everyone's listening to me and I feel like I feel so good because I can make people feel good. Like, yeah, sure, all those things. But like, I am aligned. I'm in my space just the same way that I am when I'm skiing on the slopes, like just the same way that I am when I'm thrifting some days. Like you can find these spaces and labels and roles that make you drop into alignment. And mom can be one of those for you.
I think it's also interesting, though, at the moment when those labels no longer hold that same essence.
That's the keen awareness that you must have.
Yeah.
In terms of how you change and how your expectations, your needs, your wants, your life situation changes. And therefore you must mold and adapt.
Yeah.
And change your labels, change your roles.
Yeah.
I keep using roles interchangeably with the word labels.
Yeah, because it is. With what you identify, you then show up as and assume that role. Like,
and so it is.
Yeah.
Like, just as simple as that. And so it is.
I'm just a really big believer in like what you believe about yourself, therefore influences your thoughts and then therefore influences your actions. So if you believe that you are a good mom, you will show up as so. If you believe that you're a bad mom, you will show up as so. If you believe that you are a bad partner, you're going to show up as so. Like I think that
is digging into something super powerful. The idea that like, exactly like you said, your thoughts create action.
Yep.
And these belief systems create outward expression. And I think that is really what people get stuck in a lot of times when I am depressed, I am anxious, I am whatever, insert negativity or negative feeling. And so it is. And so you become. And the power of like consistent positive self-talk is a way to change your entire life. Just changing the way that you talk to yourself.
And constantly checking in with what are the labels that I am being given? What are the labels that I am choosing? How are these feeling in my body? Do I feel like I'm dreading talking about this one role that I have? Like, I experienced that when I was a coach. Like, there was a moment where I was super empowered by being a coach, and I loved being a coach, and I loved telling people that I was a coach. And then there was a moment where I wasn't, where I literally would shrink if somebody asked me, "What do you do?"
Well, that's so interesting what you just said. You loved telling people that you were a coach. And there's nothing wrong with that, because I feel that way sometimes about yoga, is that I love being received as a yoga teacher because it automatically tells people something about me. If I say I'm a holistic health coach, you already have notions of who you think I am. Expansive or limiting, situational, who knows? But like, we pick and choose which ones we like and we don't like. Like, I love sometimes, depending on the day you ask me, when people say, "What do you do?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm a yoga instructor."
Yeah.
Because I feel like it helps them know me. It helps them know my values, know my beliefs, know what I care about, know how I hold myself and present myself. It's not all inclusive, right? But it gives you just that tidbit more of information. Just like when you would look at people and say, "Oh, I'm a coach. I'm a health coach. I'm, a one-on-one women's empowerment coach," whatever you called yourself. It's like, people are like, "Oh."
And that's actually a really good point to make, is whatever you called yourself, because that is the hardest thing to do as a coach. If we have any listeners who are either like trying to be holistic health coaches or aspiring to be any type of coach in terms of like the wellness, spirituality, holistic space, figuring out what to label yourself is one of the hardest things, because how can you sum up what you are going to do with one singular person? Because what you do with that one singular person is so vastly different than what you do with somebody else as a client, depending on the need that they have. So sometimes I would catch myself, and I think that's also where I kind of fell out of the love of coaching, was when I would get the clients who would ask me like, "What are your credentials? What are your, so what exactly do you do?" And I sometimes wanted to be like, "I don't fucking know, but I know that I help women." Like, it's so different. Sometimes I would help women with their hormone health. Sometimes I would help women who had chronic illness, and I'm not a chronic illness expert, but I know how to calm the nervous system. So I would help her with that. I sometimes had women who were like, had all of these food phobias, and I never helped her with the actual food phobias because I am not a registered dietitian / like therapist who can diagnose people, but I referred her out to these therapists. I referred her out to people. I helped give her resources. So I think sometimes the labels can become so it can make you feel so claustrophobic because you're like, I am so much more than this and I do so much more. So I think that sometimes if we want to bring it into like how we present ourselves to the world, sometimes that like marketing and that can feel really sticky because you're like, how do I package myself up into this pretty little box and then like give it to people?
Well, our entire version of success in the United States, and maybe worldly, I don't know, or I don't know how this expands to other cultures necessarily just yet until I think about this more, but I digress. How this translates to our version of success in the United States is we are constantly looking to achieve labels that put us higher in this ladder, this hierarchy. We are looking to get more accolades, more accreditations, more degrees, more ways to label ourselves as higher, more than, more successful, better than. And so that's really like a constant quest that we're on. And that's the hamster wheel. That's the matrix, is this quest to identify with, to label, to put yourself, to be someone. Like we're all trying so fucking hard to be someone.
I'm doing a 30-day journaling challenge. And I literally journaled about this yesterday where I was like, I constantly ask myself the question, is society putting the pressure on me to want to be more, or is it actually me wanting to be more? And I think there's both, obviously.
Pause. What does more look like for you?
That's what I was getting at.
Okay, go.
I think that for me, there was a point in time where more meant I'm going to get my master's. I'm going to have the doctorate or whatever the fuck it would have been called. I'm going to be a therapist. I'm going to have the label therapist. Now it's like, I want more out of my life. I want to give my kids a more cultured life. I want to be able to travel. I want to be able to have the freedom. I want to be able to be my most authentic self and express that. I want more for me, not like I don't want more labels. I want more like of a rich life experience, which is like having the ability to go travel and see the world, having the ability to have like a bigger home, to have a little bit more space on land, like be able to grow my own food, like all of these experiences that I really deeply value. Also peace. Like I don't feel peaceful in my home. And I think that that's the quest that I'm on, you know, of like, I want to create a life that I've envisioned for myself, but it has nothing to do with like labels or accreditations.
Yeah. And I pride you and many other people who are on that journey right now of breaking out of preconditioned societal norms of finding more and more labels and or being given a label and sticking to that for your whole life and following that through. I mean, this is related to what we talked about on our first love and relationships episode of like getting married and being labeled a husband or a wife and having to perform that role just because you signed up for it. Signing up for a job as a banker and having to do that and, you know, sticking in that role for 40 years until you retire. Like these old ways of I have been given this label or I've chosen this label and now I must perform that role and this is my life and this is what I do here. Gone. Dead. Over.
I'm curious your experience with jobs and things of the nature of like getting these labels to get something else of an opportunity. Because I think the thing that really also made me realize like I don't have to go get my master's. I don't have to have all these labels to actually do important work in the world was like submitting a resume somewhere, putting all of my labels on a fucking piece of paper and getting
just what a crazy concept.
Right.
Submitting a resume.
And getting no fucking bites, but then going in to the place.
Yes.
Wearing my outfit.
Selling yourself, selling your energy.
My energy, my essence. And when you do both of those things and realize that the thing that you've been told, which is like to get all these labels, is the thing that actually didn't fucking work, you have a whole fucking like mindset shift of, wow, it's not actually the labels. It's the essence of who I am as a person.
And you know what? I'm just like still stuck on the resume thing because I just had a moment of being like, that is so fucking weird that we do that. But I do think it's cool to compile a lot of your experiences that you do feel like have made you who you are.
For sure.
Because we are a culmination of our experiences.
You're writing your book, yeah.
Sure. And I do think that like it's interesting to to put that all on paper and use language to describe it. But I just think that that is so crazy that we have to be judged based on how well we can label ourselves.
I feel like I wish we were on mushrooms right now.
Same. I need a mushroom chocolate immediately.
Because I think we're like literally
I kind of feel like I'm on mushrooms.
Getting there, but I feel like if we were on mushrooms, we'd like really break through the layer of what we want to get to. But I think the one thing I want to ask you is, do you think there are any languaged labels in our society that are harmful?
Languaged labels in our society that are harmful. Yeah, there's plenty. There's plenty of labels that are given. There's plenty of like microaggressions. There's plenty of slurs. There's plenty of words that we use to describe groups of people that can be really harmful and really limiting. I think everyone's job role is limiting. Their label as a sales manager, as a fucking marketing director, whatever your role is, that's limiting to who you are and what you contribute and what you do day to day. That's limiting. I think ultimately, like I said last episode, which I really still resonate with, most things are not mutually exclusive. You can have both. So something can be labeling or something can be limiting at the same time that it is connective.
Yeah.
And so while these roles given to us, chosen by us, let's say a job description, is going to connect you in a certain way to a community, a group, a task, it's not enough. So it's doing both. But yeah, I do. I mean, the first thing that came to mind when you asked that question was the way that we have so much divisiveness in politics, in race, gender, class, age, sex. All of those have extremely limiting and quite honestly disrespectful, offensive, and really disempowering labels.
Well, I was even going to mention the same thing. I think that one of the most harmful things that has been of our generation in terms of rhetoric is PCOS, is politically correctness.
Amanda's joking because every time I say, is this PCOS? Instead of, what is it?
PC.
PC.
This is politically correct.
Oh, PC, yeah. Oh, PC, yeah.
Yeah, that thing.
Yeah, that thing.
I just think it's always on my mind, especially somebody who's raising small children to be grown adults. It's always,
one does.
as everyone in life does. But I think it's always on my mind because I'm terrified for my kids to make a mistake, let alone publicly. Because what are we telling people these days is, if you are not correct to the status quo of what society believes and deems to be right in this moment, because let's be fucking real, what's right and wrong to society changes all the fucking time.
Yes.
And so if we are putting this pressure on children to always do what's right or wrong, and by the way, abandon what they believe is right or wrong because of what society is saying what's right or wrong, like, how are they going to be able to figure out for themselves what they actually believe?
So that's the question. How do we flip the script to labels being empowering? How do we flip the script to liberation and freedom and peace with labeling? How do we create community from it? How do we lean into the age of Aquarius and break through all these past institutions and dismantle these systems that are not allowing people to live their truth?
I think we have to get comfortable with the gray area, because I think that it's kind of clicking for me, but I think for so long, people probably felt so limited by their labels. And now we're in a point where like getting more labels for race, gender, social class, whatever it is, felt really empowering. And now I feel like it's getting to a point where it's really isolating. And so I'm curious if like we like swung the pendulum way the other way. And I think now these labels are once really empowering, are now maybe a little bit not connective.
I think we just need to take labels with a grain of salt too. Like, I think we just need to not take them so literally when someone identifies with something. And I think the person creating that label for themselves, let's say I'm a Democrat, I am a heterosexual female, I am a yoga teacher.
Yeah.
this is just person X. This is not me. Like,
speaking for a friend.
like, I can identify with those things to a certain degree, and that is empowering to me.
But you never know. You might wake up tomorrow and like pussy.
Dude, I broke a nail, and I told Amanda it literally looks like I'm exploring. Because I have that one short nail, and I'm like embarrassed in yoga class when I'm in Warrior 2. I'm like, I'm straight. But what I'm trying to say is that what am I trying to say? Take everything with a grain of salt. Like, they're so divisive. And I think the people who label themselves certain things are specifically trying to be divisive. And so people who label themselves something and people who are interpreting that labeling both need to understand that there's room for flexibility. Yeah. There's room for perspective change. There's room for
open dialogue. Because I think I've told you this story before, but one thing I will never fucking forget was in college. I want to say I was becoming a junior, so it would have been 2019 possibly, or 2018. I think 2019. And I will never forget, I had never heard about pronouns. Never.
Zizers.
And I took she, her, he, him, whatever. I took a gender theory class. It's actually where I met one of my best friends ever, Graham. Shout out Graham. And I remember the first day of class, like I came back from summer, I'm taking this class. The first day, they're like, okay, go around the room and like say your name and your pronouns. And I was like,
what do I say?
What? I didn't even fucking know what it meant. I didn't know what it even meant, she, her. Like I had no idea.
Yeah, you grew up in Florida.
But but I had been at Colorado for a year already. And
interesting.
It was never mentioned once. And I remember feeling so, because everyone got up there and was like, he, her. I mean,
he, her. He, her, them, they. He, her, these, she, they, them, they.
And it's like, I didn't playful, know. And I felt so uncomfortable and also like ashamed that I didn't know these things. So it made me feel like I couldn't ask. And so it's like, this is what we're talking about. It's like, I feel like there's not a lot of room for mistake these days. And I think a lot of it comes from the languaging and the labeling that we're doing. Mm-hmm. And I think that maybe we just need to get comfortable with, in this, Pluto and Aquarius, what is it called? The age of Aquarius. Mm-hmm. When we're in this age of Aquarius, we have to be comfortable with the gray area. We have to be comfortable with like learning and unlearning, teaching and listening, and like having
and I straight up joke, sorry to interrupt you, but that everything exists on a spectrum.
Yeah.
And like these frameworks and these ideologies that we've created that are so structured and so black and white, poof, gone.
Yeah.
Like black, white, and gray, I guess, is a really easy way to break down what we're talking about. And I think you're right that gray area is really where people do feel empowered to be what they want without it being so divisive.
Yeah.
Or act how they want or say whatever the fuck they want to say. And like, yeah, I think that there's so much tension around trying to be someone successful, trying to be seen, trying to be noticed, trying to make money, trying to do this, trying to do that you forget what you actually want to be and what you actually feel good being. And there's so much competition and there's so much like being pitted against each other. And so a lot of times you find yourself playing roles and being in situations where you're not doing it because you want to, you're doing it because you feel like you have to, or you're doing it because you feel like you need to get ahead.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it has to do a lot too with if you're listening to this podcast, then we know that you're introspective. We know that you are committed to unlearning and relearning. And I think that's what it has to be. It has to be this unlearning, because I think a lot of people have experiences from the past where like certain words hold certain weight because of their upbringing, because of their childhood, because of what their parents believed, because of what their parents' believed. And so I think you have to be committed to understanding that your parents weren't perfect. Mm-hmm. Your upbringing was not the right upbringing or the wrong upbringing or whatever. You have to almost like detach from your experiences and be committed to unlearning what you know so that you can relearn what you actually believe to be true in your heart in this moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think just collectively we have a responsibility to change the dialogue and the rhetoric around certain labels and roles in society. And I think that we need to stop giving so much weight to specific ones and less weight to others. I think that you make a really good point about unlearning, because we're all just so conditioned to be thrown into do what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
What you're supposed to be doing like really doesn't feel good 90% of the time. But what you're supposed to be doing are the things that are really valued by society and have so much weight. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. Now I'm kind of like losing myself and talking into a wormhole.
I feel like we need to be on mushrooms and we'll revisit this conversation.
Okay, good.
We'll leave you guys there. I think this is a really good start to this conversation. I think that I've been doing a lot of thought about this specific thing in terms of labeling and what am I labeling in my life that is good, that is bad, that is in turn creating my reality and creating the realities that I like or dislike. And so maybe if you are also resonating with what I just shared, maybe try that. Maybe try the journaling challenge with me and see what labels are making you feel empowered, what labels are making you feel not empowered, and what like that subconscious script that's like playing in the background that's running you through your day-to-day life without you even really realizing. So
what environments do you find yourself into where you are labelless, where you have no labels? What are you doing? Where are you? Who are you with when you have no roles to fill, when you have no checks off your list to be able to like fulfill a specific responsibility? And for me, that's when I'm moving in a yoga room, that's when I'm skiing, that's when I'm in nature hiking, that's when I'm just like laughing with my friends with nothing to do and nowhere to be. And so yeah, find places where like roles don't matter and labels don't matter, and find people that accept you for however you want to show up.
Yeah, love that. Thank you guys for listening. One announcement we did want to make before Jessa doesn't even know.
Like, we want to make an announcement.
I'm pregnant. Just kidding. Just kidding.
Amanda.
I'm just kidding. But
if you don't announce it on the pod, I swear to God.
I'm going to do that. No, we want to do an event in December.
Oh my God, I just peed a little bit.
By the way, I will be announcing my next pregnancy like that, just on the pod. Are you okay? I really did get you.
I kind of wish you were.
I know. Actually, I that's something that I'll talk about soon because...
Are you trying to get pregnant? Are you guys trying?
Well, we're not going to try this time because I have a few important trips in January that I want to take and maybe have a little drinky. No, we're going to try in January because I don't want to try next month in December because then Lennox and the new baby would have like the same birthdays.
March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October baby?
It'd be like an October, November baby.
Wow, powerful.
Yeah. But I really don't want it to be a Libra, so I might have to push it off.
I mean, it'd be cool if you had a baby like the same day that I was born.
Oh.
So
I'd have to wait a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, to get pregnant. But no, I need to have a baby in 2025. Has to happen.
All right.
So anyway, that's not the announcement. We are going to do our first consciously unconscious yoga and journaling event in December. The date is still TBD by the time this episode comes out. But when this episode does come out, we'll probably have talked about it on our Instagram. So go check out our Instagram if you're listening to this episode. It's going to be really fun. If you're in Denver, come. Tickets are limited, but we're really excited.
So excited.
And there's going to be much more events to come. This is kind of like our first test run.
So excited.
Okay.
No, seriously, we're so excited to come.
Yeah.
And please leave us a review.
You guys have been showing up and showing out for the reviews.
I seriously appreciate it. I appreciate you from the depths of my labeled being.
Can we talk about my label on the Apple reviews?
Yeah, we'll end here. Amanda tried to leave us a review and didn't change her fucking username, and it literally was like, these girls are literally amazing and perfect and amazing and amazing and amazing, and I've never listened to anything better. And it's literally from Just Mans. It's like, okay, just throw yourself under the rug like that. Under the bus, under the rug. Just chuck yourself in oncoming traffic. Anyways, love you. See you at the event.
Love you guys. Bye.
And Amanda's going to be pregnant by then. Bye.